This video offers proof of the lies which the Chief Executive of Northampton Borough Council, David Kennedy, told to the Local Government Ombudsman, just so the council could continue torturing and abusing a disabled human being. Remember, the council gains no benefit whatsoever from these heinous actions. In fact, both they and the public, which is forced to subsidise them, lose out. Kennedy had the option to reverse the injustices which had already been carried out and to offer some kind of settlement to a disgraceful situation which had dragged on unresolved for 7 years. Instead, he decided to invent a tissue of lies for the LGO for no other reason than to see an innocent person suffer. The first lie that Kennedy invented was that of alleged fast tracking. There's evidence of the fast tracking lie. Fast tracking was the phrase Kennedy used to explain why I'd been told to take the housing form to Westbridge instead of the Guildhall. In the first place, fast tracking does not even exist. There is no such procedure outlined in either the Housing Allocations Policy document, which is available for download from the public website, or the guidance notes. I have a copy of the guidance notes because they were sent to me by the so-called investigator at the Local Government Ombudsman Quango. In addition to this, Birchett's abusive Stage 2 response did not mention fast tracking. Instead, it perverted the use of the word priority. It is allow us to prioritise the registration process. The word fast tracking does not appear anywhere. So we're supposed to believe that there is a housing procedure for fast tracking, but the Head of Landlord Services does not know of its existence. Plainly, the fast tracking lie had not been invented by the 17th of June 2014 and was only invented by Kennedy in September. Further evidence can be found in the email sent to me by the Tenancy and Estates Manager on the 7th of April. The Tenancy and Estates Manager says that my application will be registered as a priority. We will register your application as a priority. The Tenancy and Estates Manager is also a senior officer in the council, and had there been a fast tracking procedure in operation and the intention had only been to speed up the registration process, the email would have said, "We will fast track your application." It doesn't. It says that the application will be registered as a priority. While fast tracking is not even mentioned in the council's entire housing policy documentation, the word priority is used on multiple occasions. In every single case it refers to priority banding. It is never once used in any other context. It's therefore abundantly clear what the Tenancy and Estates Manager intended. Further evidence of the Tenancy and Estates Manager's intention can be found in the rest of the email. which states, once you've found a suitable property, we will support you in terms of assisting you with the move and to furnish the new property. When you move, you can leave anything that you no longer require in your existing property, and we will clear it as part of the void clearance process. Does this sound like the type of thing you say to someone when you're only intending to prioritise the registration process and not the offering of a property? Or does it sound like the type of thing you say to someone who is about to be housed? Kennedy also lies by stating that fast tracking ensured that the form was processed in 19 days instead of the usual 28. He states the application process usually takes 28 days. This is a lie. If you look at the Housing Allocations Policy document, you'll see that the Council intends to process forms within 28 days. What are the chances that anyone undertaking to process forms within 28 days would actually take 28 days to process each and every form? Is it not far more likely that the Council does as it says and processes forms within 28 days, and that a timescale of 19 days is entirely consistent with the forms processing as a regular housing application? Kennedy lies once again by stating that fast tracking by Mrs. Preet ensured that the registration process only took 19 days. Annette Preet is a customer relationship officer who has no remit whatsoever to handle housing forms. Kennedy also states further down that the housing form was sent to the Guildhall, away from where Preet works, on the very next working day, Monday the 14th of April. The application was sent to the Guildhall by internal mail on Monday the 14th of April. Preet herself states in an email sent to me on the 6th of May that the form was handed to Mackenzie on the same day. The papers were all sent to her the same day you gave them to me, and I also asked the senior housing officer to check everything was completed properly before you left the office. So according to Kennedy, a council employee with no remit to handle housing forms applied a procedure which doesn't even exist, despite the fact that they only had possession of the form for a few minutes. Kennedy tells the lie that the application form was returned to Mrs. Preet so that she could ensure it was fast-tracked through the registration system. In truth, I hadn't been asked to return the form to Preet at all. The evidence of the email of 7th of April demonstrates this clearly. It says, if you would like us to follow the course of action stated above, please complete the form and post it directly to me at, and then there's the tenancy and estates manager's address. So I was asked to send the form to the tenancy and estates manager. Instead of posting the form, I took it personally to the Westbridge depot, where the tenancy and estates manager is based. When I handed the form to Preet, I assumed it would be delivered straight to its intended recipient. It wasn't, of course. Kennedy tells further lies about the meeting I had with 2 council employees on the same day, 7th of April. Because the council's lax and sloppy procedures don't involve note-taking, Kennedy was in a position to invent any lie. He states that the Gateway office has offered me support with day-to-day living in my father's vacated property. The Tenancy Estates Manager's email of the same day tells a different story. It summarises the visit and makes no mention of any support being offered. So according to Kennedy, council officers make offers of support to people in grossly unsuitable properties on the same day that a manager tells them they're about to be moved. And then the manager doesn't even bother to mention the offer in a detailed summary of the incident. Of course, if council officers had offered support to someone living in a grossly unsuitable property, that would have represented an unjustifiable waste of public funds on an ongoing basis. That wastage could be saved by simply offering the tenant a move to a suitable property. So I'm not sure what Kennedy's lie here even achieves. The most pernicious lie of all is that concerning the bogus reason why my case had been placed in the lowest priority band. The excuse given was where the applicant or member of their immediate household has a medical condition where the current accommodation does not cause serious barriers to day-to-day living, but where a change in accommodation would improve quality of life. This is obviously complete drivel, as I'm totally unable to manage day-to-day living in my father's old property. It has a large garden which a visually impaired person cannot possibly manage. However, even that is not the most significant fact. If the council's actions were remotely defensible, Kennedy would be quoting from the Housing Allocation Policy document, and not only from guidance notes. Guidance notes are not a procedure, they are an addendum to a procedure. As demonstrated in other videos, the criteria for placement into the urgent needs band include applicants who have a severe medical welfare award or disability, where the current accommodation is unsuitable or it is unreasonable to remain in occupation. This is from the actual procedure, not from guidance notes. The consideration that I have a disability must, by law, override any other consideration. Kennedy's failure to even mention the policy by which housing and banding are awarded has obfuscated the fact that the policy itself was violated and that the law, the Equality Act 2010, was broken. All of this deceit was designed to con an ombudsman quango which needs little excuse to whitewash a council's treachery. But what did Kennedy or the council gain from this? Normally, when a corrupt official tells lies, they gain something. All they gained in this case was the opportunity to cause further loss, pain and severe trauma to a disabled human being.